Hello there.
And welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Charity.
And I'm Ben.
And in 2018, we bought our very first RV and we set off to travel the country with our family and explore the US. In today's video, we are going to talk about camping memberships. Now, there's all sorts of camping memberships out there, and quite frankly, it can be confusing as to maybe which ones are worth it, which ones are not. So make sure to stay tuned and watch until the end as we share with you what we feel like has been worth it for us and what hasn't.
So let's go ahead and roll the intro. So there are two different types of memberships available out there on the market. There are those discount clubs and there are those camping prepaid type memberships.
So we're going to talk about some of the ones that we own and also some of the ones that just haven't made sense. So let's go ahead and let's jump right in. So what are some of the ones we've said yes to?
One of the ones we've said yes to is Passport America, and that's more of your discount club type of membership.
It's only $44 a year, and it has seriously saved us. When we were in Camp Verde in Arizona, it gave us a 50% discount on the nightly rate. And so that was definitely one of those times where just the price of the membership more than paid for itself with the amount of time that we stayed there. And it was a really super nice campground.
Another discount club membership is Good Sam.
Now, we chose Good Sam for a variety of different reasons. When we very first started off RVing, we did own a gas engine RV and not a diesel engine RV. Now, Good Sam, in addition to getting, a 10% discount at a lot of RV parks, also provided for a fuel discount. And when we had the gas engine RV, that made a lot of sense for us because we were putting obviously a lot of gasoline into that RV, and being able to have that discount on gasoline was definitely helpful. Now, since we use a different fuel discount, since we're using diesel, and we'll have more on that in another video coming up, so make sure that you're subscribed for that. But with the Good Sam membership, you do get discounts on not only camping, but also on fuel and on purchases at places like Camping World and Gander.
Good Sam is actually very, very inexpensive. It's only $30 a year, and you can get a discount if you purchase it in like 3 or 5 year increments. So the next camping membership would be your KOA membership. And we do currently have a KOA membership, and we've used it quite a bit over the past few years.
We like staying at KOAs traditionally in the scenario where we're wanting something to help keep the kids busy. KOAs do tend to be very consistent regarding providing certain amenities. Most all of them always have a playground. And if you stay at a KOA holiday or a KOA resort, there's always fun things to do. And you should definitely check out our video on the KOA resort that is in the Black Hills of South Dakota. It's one of our favorite places. And
we had a blast there.
Yeah, we've been there so many times.
The only caveat with these places is that they're not cheap, especially the resorts or the journeys, because they're set up basically to where there's a ton of stuff to do there and you really don't have to leave. But again, I don't think that's really the point of RV life. You're there to sleep and then leave during the day to go adventure and explore.
So what the KOA membership is going to get you is it's going to get you 10% off the published rate as far as the nightly rate is concerned. And then you also accumulate points. And their point system kind of goes on a little bit of a sliding scale where the more that you stay, you actually earn higher points per level. So at this point, we've reached whatever the top level is. I forget even what the top level is, where we earn max points on our stays just because we've stayed at so many over the past few years. And then you can redeem those points for free camping. So this is a membership that we're on the fence about if we're going to renew or not, but I'm definitely going to keep it until I get my almost $100 of free camping that I've got coming to us and then we'll kind of reevaluate and decide if it's something we want to hang on to or let go.
So now let's talk about some of the memberships that we are on the fence about or that we're considering.
So as we're doing our trip planning for 2021, and make sure that you are subscribed, because we'll have another video coming out on that also very, very soon. But we're thinking about, are there other memberships that we would benefit from or that we would possibly use and find use from? And one of those is Harvest Hosts.
Harvest Host is $79 a year at the time of this recording. And what it does is it allows you to boondock at breweries, wineries, museums, and other locations. The only thing that they expect is that you do purchase something.
Part of the reason that we haven't purchased the Harvest Host membership is because boondocking is just really not our preferred camp style. We do boondock and we have boondocked, but it's been out of necessity where we just needed a place to stay very quickly, going from one place to the next, and weren't really planning on staying a very long length of time in a specific area. And so we just at this point haven't felt like that maybe we would benefit from it as much. The other thing is looking at where some of the locations have been, just haven't been in the areas that we've traveled much as of yet. Now, this next year could change because in addition to wineries and breweries, there's farms. And so that's something that I could see we would enjoy with the kids, being able to explore farms, explore orchards, things like that, to where it's a little bit more family friendly, not just centered around beer and wine, but some of those locations could be fun, but it just kind of depends upon your camping style and where you're going. So it's something we're thinking about, but not necessarily sold on yet. Another camping membership that we currently don't have that we have considered and maybe will consider again this year is Boondockers Welcome. Now, Boondockers Welcome is where people that maybe have a little bit of land or that have a very, very large driveway where there's no HOA restrictions with RVs can let you boondock in their driveway or on their property. Now, some of these particular sites will ask that you pay a very small fee to help offset things like electricity if they're offering electric to you. Now, the biggest reason we haven't done this is because we have a 40-foot motorhome and there's not a lot of places where you're going to be able to fit this in a driveway or maneuver it around tight corners out in the country, depending upon how fencing's laid out or whatever. So the biggest reason that we haven't done it yet is because of the size of our rig.
And the fact of having kids with our family, it makes more sense for us to stay at an RV park with full hookups, especially if it's going to be a couple days. If it's just overnight, we'll stay at, Cracker Barrel or a Walmart if it's available. Which, a little tip, if you look on RV Parky, you can find out if there's a Cracker Barrel or Walmart available nearby that does allow for overnight parking.
Yeah, and that works out really well. And that's more kind of our boondocking style, is just that one night in between destinations.
So now let's talk about what we've said no to and why.
We have said no to some of the bigger memberships out there. Now, the biggest one out there probably that everybody has heard of is 1,000 Trails. Now, before we talk about why we said no to 1,000 Trails, I want to clear up a little bit of a misconception that I had about 1,000 Trail campgrounds, and that being that you can only stay at 1,000 Trails campground if you're a 1,000 Trails member, which is not the case. We have actually stayed at a couple of different 1,000 Trail parks. So we do have some experience with the park system, having actually stayed at some of the 1,000 Trail parks to be able to experience what they're like. And after we've stayed at a few of these parks, do you feel like that reinforces our no to 1,000 Trails?
Yeah, it just doesn't fit our camping lifestyle. So the two that we have stayed at have really been in disrepair. One of the 1,000 Trails we did actually enjoy because of the sand dune, which was the Pacific Dunes RV Resort.
They've not been kept up as well as some of the other RV parks that we've stayed at. Now, that being said, the rates were decent, even though we are not Thousand Trails members, as far as just being comparable with what other RV parks in the area were charging. Here is a little hint and how that we got to stay at the Pacific Dunes in Oceano.
Which we love that one, actually.
That one was really nice. The campground itself isn't anything to write home about, but the location where it backs up to the dunes is a really amazing location to be at. Now, every year, the World Series is played, and Thousand Trails, if you're on their email list, will send out an email, and if you guess the winning team of the World Series, they will send you a discount code for 50% off of your stay. And so I have booked us Thousand Trail campgrounds, even though we're not members, at 50% off by guessing which team is going to win the World Series. And I've been right both times. Yeah. So let's talk about why we said no to Thousand Trails. So one of the reasons that we've said no is because looking at the park system and where the parks are located, they are not really located along a lot of the travel routes that we tend to take in places that we want to visit. They tend to be towards like the outskirts of the United States, and there's not a lot that are like in mid-America or like the Midwest. And so that tends to be routes that we take. And then the other thing is that when it comes to just how we choose to budget and how we choose to handle finances, we're not really big on like prepaying for things. We're not big on prepaid anything, really. And Thousand Trails is a lot more like of a prepaid camping where, you know, you pay a larger fee up front and then you can stay for free throughout the year. The other thing that I've personally found with Thousand Trails is so confusing. It's like you get this zone, but not that zone unless you add this on. Oh, and then that's an encore park. Sorry, that one's different because it's an encore park, or this is a trails collection versus this one. And it just...
I still don't understand how it all works.
It was so overwhelming and confusing. Now, we do know people that have Thousand Trails and they use it and they feel like it saves them money. But the people that we know that are using it are people that do not have any sort of a home base. They 100% live in their rigs full time, and they also really don't have a set plan as far as we need to be at this one particular spot, or these are the places we're going to go often. So they have that flexibility to just sort of bounce around wherever.
Another downside about Thousand Trails is that you're never really guaranteed a 50 amp hookup or sewer.
And if you don't have a 50 amp rig, no problem there. But sewer for us is kind of a big deal just because we're a family of 4 and we will fill up a gray tank extremely fast, especially if we're using our washer and dryer. So a sewer is an absolute must. Now, when we stayed at the Thousand Trails Park in Winter Garden, Florida, we were on our way over and I got a phone call from the gal at the front desk that said, we just want to make sure you're fine with 30 amp. And I specifically put on the reservation that we needed a 50. And so I explained, no, we need a 50. It's Florida in September. We need to be able to run both of our air conditioning units. And so they did put us in a 50 amp site, so that was fine. But especially as some of these parks get more full, for example, Florida in the winter, some of these sites do fill up sooner versus later. So for us, not being 100% full-time in the sense of we do have a home base to be able to come back to, and we don't live in our rig 365, and with really having set destinations that we want to go to and that we want to see.
She's a planner.
I am a planner. And I think you would say that's worked out fairly well.
I do appreciate it.
It just doesn't make sense for us to say yes. So we had to give Thousand Trails a thumbs down and say no, because it didn't make sense for us financially, but also just to be able to have any other sort of just benefit from having that type of a membership.
Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Some Thousand Trails are decent. One of them being Thousand Trails Orlando. We've been there. to visit some friends, and it is really a nice park.
They're
a nice
adding a lot
campground.
of improvements at the moment. They're adding a lot of extra sites. They were doing improvements to their pool area. And so there are some parks that they're pouring some resources into to be able to improve and upgrade. But it just still not enough to make us say yes.
We'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Staying at any of the Thousand Trail campgrounds, if you liked it, disliked it. Another one that we've said no to is escapees.
Now, this is nothing against escapees. We know a ton of people that have said yes to escapees, but for us, it just didn't make sense. A lot of the benefits that they provide really aren't something we need, like, you know, mail service or mail service forwarding, help setting up a domicile in a specific state. And of course, events, which events are always fun. We're always up for going and hanging out with other RVers, but right now,
Lately, there really aren't any events.
can't really do events. Not a membership that has made sense for us right now. It could at some particular point in time down the road, but we've chosen to say no just because the benefits that we need aren't there. So thank you so much for watching this video about campground memberships. Make sure that you drop us a comment below. Let us know what memberships that you have found value in and maybe some of the ones that you've said no to. Also, make sure that if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. When you ring that bell or click on that bell, what that does is it provides you with a notification every time we release a new video. And you definitely don't want to miss some of the videos that we've got coming up. We've got the Ultimate RVers gift guide coming up. We've got our RV renovation series, tons of fun stuff that is coming up. So make sure you stay tuned. And until next time,
We'll see you on the road. You did it.
better at that.
Grab a beer. Oh, shit. Shoot. Bee. God, I hate bees. Get away. Why is he over here?
I don't know.
Oceano.
There's a bee again.
Bee. To be. Sorry. Okay, I'm not scared of snakes. I'm not scared of bears.
Or spiders.
Or spiders. But when it comes to bees, I scream like a girl.